This is the Last Picture Show with Rahim Khan, and today I am reviewing Predator Badlands. Ever since he took a literal stab at the Predator franchise with Prey, Dan Trachtenberg has seemed almost like a godsend for this franchise. This franchise, much beloved as it is something that we all, or at least I can testify for myself, grew up on. But studios, 20th Century Fox in this case, thinking that, they could piece together a pile of shit and sell it to fans who are hungry for, more stories of the Predator, of the Yautja. Failed in this endeavor, and then and what resulted was almost like a decade or a decade and a half of really, really average, almost bad Predator movies. The first one in the 80s, of course, set the standard. Then, of course, we had its sequel. But from that point, Predator 2, which I think came out in 89, if I'm not mistaken, or was it 91? Correct me if I'm wrong. From that point, all the way up till AVP in the 2000s, we didn't really have anything. Yes, you had a boatload of Dark Horse comics, and you had enough time for the original movie to achieve cult status. So when we got shit like AVP and Predators and AVP2 Requiem and this and that and all of these attempts at trying to revive the franchise, it just left fans it left fans, of course, wanting for more, and it left the franchise in the weeds. Then comes along Dan Trachtenberg. What he did with Prey was completely resuscitate the franchise. He was able to give it a second wind, a new life, and it is thanks to the success of that movie that we are now here in 2025 being able to experience two, not one, but two Predator movies. You had Predator, Killer of Killers, the animated movie which came out May of this year, or somewhere before the summers, and then now we have Predator Badlands. I think that's about all the praise that I'm willing to give Dan Trachtenberg for this show, because the movie in itself, of course, you're going to ask me, should we watch it in the cinema? Should we stream it? Or should we skip it? For fans like myself, I did go to the cinema to watch it. However, you can completely pass on this one and stream it. For non-fans, skip it. I know it's not easy to admit that someone so gifted and so understanding of the the property of the franchise, of the characters and the culture of the Predator has made a misstep. But that's exactly what I felt Predator Badlands is or was. The story is about a Yautja, the Predator. In this case, his name is Dek. The very first time, at least on screen, that we've actually seen a Predator given a name other than a nickname. You had sort of City Hunter and Wolf and all of those ones, but actually sort of seeing Predators. Okay, this is something I think that fans have always wanted. We always got that in the comics, where the culture was explored, where we had a Predator as a protagonist. That was something that I was desperate to see on screen. I mean, often at times, just like with most Transformers movies, or perhaps any creature feature, any movie that sort of involves, an alien character or something that is non-human, you always have to have a human sort of there, either as the lead or as like a side character. I was going to say sidekick and character, and I mix it up at the same time. But you have those two to somehow sort of like, act as a custodian almost to the audiences, to sort of guide them through this sort of alien mayhem. I've never liked it. I've always wanted to see sort of like, these alien characters, like for example the Transformers or the Predators, have their own sort of like starring roles and have no humans whatsoever. So we kind of get that with Predator Badlands. Not kind of, we absolutely do get that, because and bully for him, bully for Trachtenberg for actually doing that, and for the studio okaying it. The only, sort of human element is in it, pardon me, are the sort of synths, in this case played by Elle Fanning, representatives of the Weyland-Yutani Corporation. So back to Dec, who is the runt of the litter or runt of his clan, who has been outcast for being, the runt, being the smallest and the weakest and very unpredator-like in his appearance. And without any spoilers, he sets out to prove to his clan, to prove to his father, that he can make the biggest kill possible. In this case, it's a creature, a Kashyyyk or something like that, who's on this planet. And, he sort of, that's the premise. I don't need to go into any further. Predators, both sort of on screen as well as sort of in the franchise, in the comic books as well, have always had this mystique to them. Besides, of course, being sort of alpha, predators, alpha, what's it called? Predators, literally, or apex hunters. They are this culture that feels, because we always only get tastes of it, slivers of it in the movies. They are sort of a culture that was worth exploring. They were, a character that we definitely wanted to see more of on screen. But seeing them like this, because essentially what Predator Badlands is almost like a road journey type, I wouldn't say buddy cop movie, but it's the Predator, Elle Fanning, and then this other creature, and no spoilers there, all sort of on this sort of journey of discovery, essentially. And that's not something that I would have expected from a Predator movie, which some may say is a good thing, because, how many times can you essentially do, sort of a Predator sort of cloaked, and sort of the 3 laser dots appear on a victim, and boom, the shoulder cannon fires, the Predator, the prey goes down, and, sort of the Predator goes back into the night. There's only so many times that you can do that. I understand. But what, for example, Trachtenberg was able to do with Prey, and then what he was able to do with Predator Killer of Killers, is explore the Predator, the Yautja culture, without demystifying the character, without even humanizing it. They always remained sort of inscrutable. They always remained alien, which is exactly what they are. Yes, Like, for example, again, in the comic books, in the movies, in for example, AVP, we saw that, like, or even Predator 2, that, or in the entire, sort of franchise, we've always seen that the Predators have a code, they are honorable, and what's it called? There are sort of like, there are depths to them. But they always remained sort of beyond sort of like, sort of a human sort of kinship. Like, again, they were alien, right? What he does in this movie is make them, I mean, is make the Predator like relatable, friendly, like, sort of your typical sort of like, gruff exterior type character who along the way slowly opens up. He does all of that. And that's where I feel that we lose a lot of what makes the Predator, makes the Predators cool, And again, while some may argue that it's okay to do that, it's I'm not saying it was done in a ham-fisted way, that it's done in a manner that was like sort of bordering on the type of cliche that we saw in AVP, but it's still something that left me feeling as if this movie could have been done differently, as if this movie from at least the Trachtenberg oeuvre could maybe even excluded, like maybe he shouldn't have done this story. Otherwise, I mean, like, it's an okay movie. You kind of like, see where stuff is going, so it's predictable in that in its nature. It is in no way, shape or form comparable to Prey, because Prey stands up there as like one of the greats. So I walk away, like, the action's decent. There's all of these, like, bits and parts of it that kind of like, keep you entertained. But I mean, I don't want to say it's like the sort of Disneyfication of Predator or I don't know how to sort of put my finger on it, but this is definitely not the kind of Predator movie I was waiting almost all year for. So, yeah, not for me.